We are going to today talk about amazing animals. I love animals. As I was growing up as a kid, we had just about everything. I mean, we had pet owls, pet alligators, pet monkeys. We had, pet skunk, believe it or not, raccoons, bobcat, all kinds of great animals. And I just love them. I've always liked animals, more the exotic kind. But what I really like about animals is that as we observe these things, we do get to see God's amazing qualities, His power, His nature. That's what Romans 1 tells us in verse 18 and following, that we see God's power, qualities, and nature through that which has been made, so that men are without excuse. Another verse that I love to talk about when we're discussing animals is right here in Job chapter 12. Look what it says. Now ask the beasts, and they will teach you. The birds of the air, they will tell you. Or speak to the earth, and it will teach you. The fish of the sea will explain to you. Who among all these does not know the hand of the Lord has done this, in whose hand is the life of every living thing and the breath of all mankind? I love that verse. It's basically saying this: you can go to the dumb animals and they can tell you that God made them. Yet I can go to these PhDs at Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, and they can't tell me where they came from, but the dumb animals can? Yeah. Now this isn't saying, go talk to your cat. Where did you come from? It says, ask the beasts. It's simply saying, observe them. Go look at them. And as you observe these animals, you will see God's qualities, characteristics, His nature, His power. That's all it's saying. But yeah, even a dumb bird like this can tell you we're not an accident.
Nighttime. Daytime. Nighttime. Daytime. Nighttime. Daytime.
Yeah, if that dumb bird can, how about a woodpecker? He'll hit a tree 1,000 times the force of gravity. It's 300 times more than what an astronaut feels when it's taking off at liftoff. And when it pecks the tree, it is doing it with such great force that it actually has to close its eyes before it pecks the tree. It aims where it's going to peck, closes its eyes, pecks the tree, backs up, open, close, peck, back, open, close, that fast. Yeah, I can't even open and close my eyes that fast, but it does it. The funny thing is, the evolutionists used to say it needs to do this to keep wood chips from getting into its eyes. Yeah, it's hilarious. It does it so fast it wouldn't make any difference anyway. But after further study, they discovered the reason it closes its eyes is because of the force that it has when it hits the tree. If its eyelids weren't closed, the eyeballs would pop out of its head. How did it figure that one out? By chance evolutionary processes. One day, oh, my eyes. No, that's design. Amazing design. And it even has to make sure that it hits the tree perpendicular with its beak. If it's not perpendicular, the beak would shatter. How did it figure that out? Oh, no. Oh, guys, hit it straight. Oh, hit it straight. Design. Instinct. God has created these things to instinctively know just what to do. Not only that, but they eat in an ingenious way because you see, they've got, they basically drill a hole through the tree, right? Into the tree. Well, the bug, as it's shaking the house, goes far down into the hole as it can. Well, if you've ever tried to take anything out of a little hole with the tweezers, it doesn't work very well because you can get the tweezers in the hole, but you can't open the tweezers to be able to grab what's inside. Likewise, the woodpecker has the same problem. It can get its beak into the tree, but it can't open it up to close, to be able to grab it. So I suppose after millions of years of not being able to eat anything, he, maybe stuck his tongue out on a log and started stretching it out with his, stepped on it with his foot. And, there! Now I got a long tongue to stick in the hole. And it's sticky. He licked some sap off of a tree. And now I stick in the hole, bug. Yum. Uh-oh. Now what? Now what do I do with it? Now I got this, long tongue, but a short beak. Where do I put it? And when I fly, it beats me up. I know, maybe I can swallow it. No. There's no way it could do that by chance processes, but do you know it does swallow its tongue? It actually goes down its throat, It comes up over the top of its head between the skin and the skull, and then it goes out its nostril, out its mouth. That is design. Guys, that couldn't come about by chance processes. A while back we were driving down the road and a bird came out and we smacked it with the car, and my wife said, "Was that a woodpecker?" I said, "I think so." And she said, "Stop and get it." I said, "What?" She said, "Stop and get it." I said, "Why?" She said, "I want to see its tongue." Let me tell you, if you hit a woodpecker with your car, stop and get it. Look at its tongue. It's incredible. If you can't see design in that, there is something wrong with you. It is fantastic. We have this. That's the lyrebird. Look at this creature.
He also, in his attempt to outsing his rivals, incorporates other sounds that he hears in the forest. That was a camera shutter. And again. And now a camera with a motor drive. And that's a car alarm. And now the sounds of foresters and their chainsaws working nearby.
Now, this lyrebird, guys, why did he make it do that? I mean, what's the point? I mean, one day it sees some handsome logger, look at me, No. I think I know why God made this creature do this, because he knew that one day there'd be a group of people here looking at that going, wow, what an amazing creation. Look what my God did. But now if I was God, I think I'd have made the chipmunk do this. But he didn't ask, so. Anyway, we have the humpback whale. These humpback whales, do you know that they can get 30 to 60 feet long, up to 40 tons? They come breaching up out of the water, slamming down like that. Can you imagine getting 40 tons up out of the water? That's amazing in itself. And they have these fins, but their fins have bumps on them. Can you see the bumps there on their fins? Those bumps, the evolutionists used to say, that is terrible design. If your God was such a great designer, he sure screwed up on this thing, because nobody would put bumps on that if it has to go through the water. Well, they wanted to show how dumb God was. So what they did is they made a model airplane where they put bumps on the wings and then put this thing in a wind tunnel to see how it would do. Turns out it had 32% less drag, an 8% better lift on the wing, and a 40% steeper wing angle before it stalled out. So rather than showing how dumb God was, they showed how dumb they were and how amazing God was. That's our God and his design. And yet they want to say this is just an evolutionary accident? I don't think so. There's even a company out there now called Whale Power that has basically generated 20% more power, as well as industrial fans using fewer blades and slower speeds, saving over 20% energy by copying the design of this humpback whale. And they eat in an ingenious way as well. One of them will swim in a circle directly below where there's a bunch of krill and plankton and things like that and small fish above it. But as he swims in this circle, he blows air out his air hole so that the bubbles will go up in a circle, making a net to trap everything inside. So the fish are going, oh, bubbles, oh, bubbles, oh, bubbles, what do I do? In the other one then, another will swim up underneath that bubble net, going through ahead of everybody else, making a noise that scares them all together. It sounds something like this. Something like that. Not exactly, but something like that. No, we've been on a boat. We've got this audio thing that we put in the water that records what they sound like, as they are doing this. So you can even hear when they're about to come up because they start making that noise. All the rest of them will follow, and as they follow, they go through this buffet line with their mouths open. And here's a video that I took in Alaska showing you this bubble net feeding. You can see this. That's one mouth coming up there, opening and closing. And that's incredible design in itself because of all the weight of that water. When it opens its mouth and it has to close its water, pushing all that weight out. I wish I'd have been in this boat here in that still picture. I could have given you a picture of the tonsils of that one, but I was in the wrong boat. And they just do this instinctively. Others, like the orcas, the killer whales, these things work together to get this seal off of the ice. Now that ice is about 10 to 15 feet down below the surface. So they can't just, break it. But what they do is they work together. Now a seal is like a candy bar to them. It's soft and chewy on the outside, crunchy on the inside. They love them. What they do is they'll work together. You can see the whites on their backs. And you can see side by side they're swimming together so that just before they get to the ice, they dive down and their tails create a wave that will knock the candy bar into the water. And here it goes. Now I know some of you go, swim, seals, swim, swim. It's okay. I want you to know it's all right. Guys, this is what, first of all, it shows the curse. There was no death before Adam and Eve sinned. And second of all, I want you to know that it's okay because it's just a dumb animal that's dying. You are not an animal. You are created special. Those animals don't feel pain like you do. I'm not saying that they don't feel any pain. I'm saying they don't feel it to the extent human beings do. Anybody who grows up on a farm can tell you this. They don't have reasoning capabilities like you do. They don't worship God in the same way that you do because they are only two-dimensional creatures. You're three-dimensional. We're two-dimensional. We'll maybe talk a little bit more about that later, but right now I just want you to see you are not an animal. God has created you specifically even to have dominion over those animals, He says. Now, I'm not saying that gives you a right to be abusive to your animals. It says in the book of Proverbs that a wise man takes care of the needs of his animals. But it also doesn't mean we're supposed to treat them like human beings. They're trying to give voting rights to chimpanzees. Sometimes I think they might do better. But, guys, this shouldn't happen. We treat animals as if they're human beings, and then we treat human beings as if they're animals. It's topsy-turvy. It's backwards. It shouldn't be like that. But we've got it all messed up. You can go to jail faster in this society by beating your dog than you can by beating your wife. What's wrong? Because we treat these animals as if they're human beings, giving them all the comforts of a human being when they don't need it. God designed them to live where they live. And He says it's all right. As a matter of fact, it was God that killed the first animal, wasn't it? And not only did He kill the first animal, and He later in the sacrifices says, kill these every day. You have to get it out of your head that these people like PETA are good organizations. These, people for the ethical treatment of animals. I say the people who eat tasty animals. No, this is not good. This is wrong. It's unbiblical. Again, take care of the needs, but don't treat them like human beings. You're to have dominion over them. And you know what? An animal doesn't have a conscience, does it? You don't see your cat sitting in the corner going, oh, I can't believe I killed a mouse. Oh, that poor mouse. No, they just do what they do by instinct. You are reasoning. They don't have a conscience. You see, a conscience it's two words, con, with, science, knowledge. God says that He has given us a conscience that will bear witness against us when the Lord returns. Because when you sin, you know it's a sin because God put a conscience in you. Animals don't have that. You don't hear a monkey doing this, do you?
Sid.
Who's that?
This is your conscience, Sid.
What?
You've been a very naughty boy, Sid.
I ain't.
Leaving them banana skins on the floor so people slipped on them.
No, I didn't. The bin bag, it ripped.
Bin bags? To dispose of biodegradable banana skins? You
What?
must be punished.
Not at all. Okay? Yeah, they don't have a conscience. Well, check this out. This is another difference between a man and an animal. This is a cube. A guy drew these lines on a wall. Now, if you're not standing in the right spot, it just looks like a bunch of lines on the wall. But if you're standing in the correct location, it looks just like a perfect cube, doesn't it? Yeah, this takes artistic ability. This takes talent. No animal could do that. It takes reasoning abilities. This is a big difference between a monkey and a man. How about spiders? Spiders are neat. Do you know that their spider webs are one of the strongest substances in the world? It's actually 100 times stronger than steel, even stronger than Kevlar, a bulletproof vest. Yeah. If you would take a spider web, make it as thick as a piece of steel, it would be 100 times stronger. Scientists are trying to copy this design because then we could maybe make buildings with steel beams that are made out of spider webs. And it's heat resistant to 302 degrees, 700 degrees before it disintegrates. We would love to be able to do this, but do you know, with all of our technology, we have yet to be able to reproduce what they're trying to tell you is just an accident. Not a chance. This is God's design. We even see spider webs have what we call, it's a different kind of stickiness. It's a variable strength. You see, it's more sticky when the fly is moving in it. The more movement, the stickier it is. But if that fly stops moving, it doesn't stick very well. But as soon as he starts wiggling to get off, it sticks again. Scientists are trying to copy this because we want to make Band-Aids that you can slowly take off and it's not going to hurt so much. You just want to be careful so you don't, that might, ah! But we're copying God's design and yet we're not giving God credit for it, are we? Do you know there's even a new field out there that you can go into called biomimicry in science? It's copying biology, it's copying God's design, and yet we don't give Him any credit. Guys, if we don't, give credit to where we get this stuff from, you know what that's called? Plagiarism. We're plagiarizing God's creation and not even giving Him credit. We're thinking evolution and accidents. Not a chance. The gecko would climb up smooth surfaces, even like glass, without falling off. Scientists have tried to figure out how they're doing this, and they discovered that they have what's called bidirectional stick. This thing, as long as it's pulling down, is sticky, but it moves forward, it releases. And if you saw the movie Mission Impossible 4, they had these gloves that he climbs up, and that's what he does. That's real technology, not as good as what they showed on the movie, but that is real technology that has been copied from the gecko. And scientists are trying to copy this even more so that we can make robots that could go to other planets or the moon or whatever and be able to climb up surfaces just by sticking and moving in that direction. All kinds of great designs. How about this octopus? Can you see that? You can't? Keep looking, because it's there. Boom. Isn't that amazing? This thing blends into its texture, its background, the color. Swims off to try and make itself look big because there's some guy with a camera chasing it. But the funny thing is how could that evolve? What if something was chasing you one day and you went, yeah, can you see me now? Because if you can't see me now, then you're dead. Because if you can't blend in perfectly, whatever's chasing you will eat you. Evolution would have to start all over. Here it is in slow motion, backwards, reverse. Keep an eye on its eye. You might be able to see it when it's done. And this is incredible design. We even see others that have bioluminescent light. They produce light that's 100% efficient. Our light bulbs give off more heat than light. We'd love to be able to do that, solve our energy crisis. Or the hermit crab. You know, the hermit crab, they crawl inside another creature's shell backwards, and its body is just by accident twisted just for that shell so that it can fit perfectly. Now, it only has 2 legs that are used for walking. The others are in the shell. Now, the right claw is larger because they use that as a door. When they go in, they just, the big claw closes the door on it. They even sometimes will put sea anemones on their shell to clean the shell for that symbiotic relationship, their own maid, and they don't even have to pay for it. There's the peacock. Why does the peacock have such a beautiful tail? Who can tell me, why does the peacock have such a beautiful tail? Yeah, that's right. To attract a mate. To attract a mate? Do you know why you're taught that? Kindergartners can tell us this because it's in our school books all the time. But you're taught it in school because Charles Darwin, in his book, Origin of Species, said that the peacock has a beautiful tail simply to attract a mate. And because it's in Origin of Species, it's in our textbooks today. Do you know that that is a lie? It is false. 268 mating peacocks were studied in Tokyo, Japan, and they discovered that the female could care less about the male's tail. Yeah, kind of like in real life. They could care less, get used to it. Yeah, we're being taught this is because of evolution? No, I think I know why the peacock has a beautiful tail, guys. I think he has a beautiful tail because God wanted you to be able to say, wow, look at that amazing design. No, I mean, to attract a mate, one day this thing goes, whoosh, hey girls, look at me, huh? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what are you doing Friday night, huh? No, it's design. Absolute design. I think if the birds could hear what we were saying about them, this is what they'd be saying.
Cheer up. You crack me up, Trent.
Yeah, but I think God is just looking down and He's smiling at us, don't you? Yeah, me too. Well, how about this? This is called the Corey Glory. This guy does what's called 3D chalk art. Now, this chalk art, you've seen kids, they go out on the sidewalks with their chalk art. He does amazing things with it. It's kind of like that cube. If you're not standing in the correct location, it doesn't look like much. But if you're standing in the right spot, it looks wonderful. Here it is in the wrong location. Here it is in the correct location. So likewise, then, all of these are going to be in their correct location. You see, no animal could do this. This is amazing design. This takes artistic ability. It takes a spiritual nature. Some of you might be gifted with art. Some of you might be gifted with musical ability. Some of you might have more of an engineering mindset. Some of you, could be good in math. Some of you might be good with athletics. The bottom line is God has gifted every one of you with a different gift, a different ability. This is a spiritual nature that God has placed in you. Animals can't do this. They can't do any of it. I wish I had this kind of talent. I don't. This guy here is real. That one there is a drawing. But this is what God has placed in us. We see even ants exhibit amazing design characteristics. Do you know a leaf-cutting ant cuts a leaf so smoothly that even our sharpest razor can't even cut them that smoothly? Yeah. Scientists wanted to know how they could do this, so they began studying it, discovered that the ant vibrates the leaf at 1,000 hertz, a certain frequency. So we've copied this today to create what's called a vibratome that will cut soft tissue easier so that you, in maybe surgery, that you wouldn't bleed as much or heal faster as well. Simply by vibrating it at 1,000 hertz, just like the ant did. And they want to tell you that this is an accident, not a chance. The shape of the wing of a vulture, it has been duplicated by researchers, allowing them to half the wingspan of an airplane and keep the same lift-drag ratio. We've got the lungfish. The lungfish, this thing, it lives in Africa where it can get very hot and dry. Well, fish need water to live. Well, when it starts to dry up, this thing will kind of slither around through the mud until it can find a spot where it'll just start eating a hole down in through the mud. As it eats this hole, it takes the mud through the mouth, passes it past the gills. Now, again, that in itself, fish don't eat mud, but this guy can, and like I said, it passes back through there. But as it does, it begins to secrete this mucousy, gross, sticky little substance. And it gets in this hard shell as that mucus dries up. You can kind of see it here, that circular shell that it's in and all the mucus. as it gets really dry, this whole fish will not even have mucousy stuff anymore. It's just a dry shoe, it looks like. Well, where it lives, they'll often use the mud for bricks. So they put the mud in the form. The form then gets used as a brick, sun-dried, and they'll build buildings with it. So now you've got this fish in your house wall. But then it might start to rain, and as it starts to rain one day, you see that it'll start to moisten up that brick. The water seeps in, starts to moisten up this hard shell. The water gets inside, it starts to moisten up the fish itself. It'll start to revive. And as a result then, it will start eating out the wall, and it'll just slither outside your house wall. You get up in the morning, and you've got holes all over your house, and your house doesn't smell so fishy anymore. But do you know that this thing can stay up to 2 years like a dried up shoe in those walls and still survive? How can that come by evolutionary chance processes? I mean, the first time it dried out and died, evolution is over. You can't slowly learn to do this. That is design. We even have the eye. A physicist, Edward Kelly, copied the design of the eye by filling a gap between the lens and the retina in a digital camera. So it now made it 70 times better than previous cameras that were filled with air. But we went to the eye to figure that out. Or how about dolphins? Do you know off of the coast of New Zealand there were 4 lifeguards swimming off of the shore, and all of a sudden a pod of dolphins, a pod is kind of like a flock of geese, a pod of dolphins, they encircled these lifeguards, wouldn't allow them to swim back to shore. Well, they were getting a little nervous, and all of a sudden this 10-foot-long great white shark was seen swimming outside of the pod. The dolphins chased the shark away, then they opened up and allowed the lifeguards to go back to shore. So lifeguards were being lifeguarded. Isn't that something? I mean, yeah, they have these great characteristics, but that's not the only neat thing. You can see here that they blow these air bubbles out their mouths, and then they go and play with them. These are called toroidal vortices. You may have seen me blow those smoke rings with the big air zuka before. Here's a picture of these other ones blowing it out their mouths. You can see it there. And then they'll just go and play with those things as they swim around. But these toroidal vortices are neat. If you can see them up close, like when we do it with the smoke, it rolls back on one another. Here's a humpback whale doing it. We know it's a humpback whale because you'll see that the humpback whale will come swimming up right through that bubble ring there. Swims up right through it. You can also see these if you go to an air show. Oftentimes when they have those explosions, the smoke will go up in a smoke ring, or when volcanoes here at Mount Etna, when that erupted, you can see these smoke rings that go up in a circle, rolling back on themselves. Sometimes, those people who smoke, you can blow water, air bubbles underneath. You can see how it goes in and out between one another there. Other cases, we see that they can swim so well, these dolphins. Scientists wanted to study to find out how they could swim so well, found out their blubber doesn't just keep them warm, but that it actually is a spring action that is used. And so we've copied that design from the blubber of a dolphin to make what's called a propulsor that is now in our submarines that make them quieter, more maneuverable, and faster. Look at this, a dolphin stampede here going by. That is a lot of dolphins, isn't it? But that is God's design, allowing them to swim that well, to pop up out of the water. We have bats that also have something similar to a dolphin, and that is that sonar, that echolocation. A bat can catch 4 fruit flies up to 100 feet away just in 1 second. We don't have any of our sonar that is that good. We would love to be able to do that, but we're saying, all right, what we've designed is design, and what that bat can do is an accident? Can't you see the illogical reasoning there? It doesn't make any sense. Do any of you have hearing aids? I'm sorry, any of you have hearing aids? Well, you might want